latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Welcome to another week of Rock the Rink. Thanksgiving is over. We're in the final stretch here before Christmas break. And before we get into Liberty Hockey, what is going on in Minot?
Oh yeah. Oh, man.
Can't find any wood.
Dude, yeah. It's kind of crazy, too, because remember the weekend before Thanksgiving, the Chicago Showcase?
Yeah.
Like, I was more curious. I was like, oh, why aren't we there? And, Kerr brought up a good point, it's better that we're not there now because guys are sick, guys are burnt out, injured, this and that. And, honestly, that week was crazy. 7 of the top 10 lost.
That's wild.
Right?
Yeah.
Lost to someone that weekend. The only teams that didn't lose were Adrian. They dominated Davenport and Oakland. Mary, I forgot who they played, but they won their games. And then we were idled.
Yes.
So then everyone else lost to someone. So you're just like, wow. But yeah, them losing 3 straight and then they lose by 3 goals in each game too. That's pretty crazy talking about Minot. So
yeah, wild to see Ohio looking more like the Ohio we expected. Laker Aldridge, you could tell he's finally starting to feel healthy again.
Yeah, and I'm glad he wasn't healthy when we played him.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because
can play.
Yeah, he dominated that Chicago Showcase. If there was an MVP, he would probably be it. I believe had 7 points, 6 goals during that time, and they definitely. You can see, we talked about it. Ohio's becoming that team with too much skill to not start putting it together, and that was a good weekend for them to start figuring it out.
Yeah, and you just never know are some teams just slower to get it going? Are some teams just, coming out of the gate a little bit hotter? But I have to feel like there's some sort of injury or, something going on maybe that isn't shared with the public with Minot. They are a great team, so to lose, games like that, lose by 3, it's a little uncharacteristic. But as we kind of said, I definitely think when we face Ohio February 9-10 in the new year, it's going to be a different team up at Bird Arena than we're kind of, maybe saw here at the Lehigh Ice Center.
I still think with Minot, though, that's a team that when you look at the talent level, they're not as talented as some of the other top 5 teams. They just tremendous structure within their game. So if the structure goes, I could see the scores being tipped the other way. And, a -3 in terms of the goal column is not huge. It's still a lot more than you expect from them. But, that's one of those teams. I'm curious to see how long it's going to take them to turn it around. Imagine a huge fall from grace for them. You're all of a sudden you're on a 3-game losing skid. That's substantial.
Yeah.
It really is in today's world of ACHA, especially with rankings. So when the rankings come out this week, it'll be curious to see where they end up.
Yeah, and not just that. Right now, we're almost at the midway point. You've lost more games now at the midpoint this year than you did all of last year, too.
Yeah.
So, that's a big factor, too. Yeah, I mean, I feel like what they've done up there and how the sustainability they've had of being a top 5 program, they're too good not to figure it out. But, I feel like it makes you a little more excited heading into the new year, trying to see kind of not just them, but Ohio, talking about Adrian, Maryville, Mary, even us, what is going to happen and how things are going to shake up now. Because you thought there were tiers and some teams were on the top tier, middle tier, and now it's everyone's coming back together and it's a lot closer than we thought it was.
What do you think of Adrian, Pat? Are they in a league of their own compared to everybody else that you've seen?
Nah, I mean, I'll be honest. The 2 games for Liberty up there, I was very pleased.
Right.
You win by 1 and you only lose by 1. In past, that's not what we get for Liberty. So, the fact that Liberty's been right there with them, I think, the top 10, I think, honestly, the top 10 is in a tier 1, right? I really do. I think, consistently they have shown, and not only that, they're also beating each other up. So I think that's tier 1, and, you could see anyone in that top 10 coming away with a national title as the season progresses, as long as, obviously, no substantial injury. And then if you get, you always talk about, hot goaltender at the right time, yeah, you're going to be rolling.
Feels like Hunter Frostic has been hot all year long so far, to be honest. You know, minus the injury. He came back and didn't look like he had any rust on him. And Liberty, too, they're going to have some added bodies next semester. We'll get to Pitt here in a few minutes, talking about this weekend's game. But looking forward to next semester, you get to Reed Bogenholm back. Hopefully Laz Capel is healed up and feeling better. So that's 2 pretty decent adds on the back end.
Yeah. You also got to remember you played Ohio and you won pretty significantly without your top centerman in Truett Olsen, too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I totally forgot
illness.
about that. Yeah, the late scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy things to see. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the top 10 over the next coming weeks, especially in the 2024 spring semester. I feel like this is more parity than we've seen in years previous because there's always been like 1 and 2 have kind of set themselves apart from 3 through 10, but it doesn't feel like that's the case this season.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. We were kind of talking about it last year around Nationals times too, of there wasn't that kind of clear cut, hey, this is going to be it. We felt like there was, a group of 5 or 6. And as this season started, I feel like we all kind of felt like, oh, shoot, Minot is possibly going to run away with it. Yeah. But now, end of this semester, like you kind of just said, Rhett, it's anyone's game.
Yeah,
could
really
be.
Is.
Yeah.
All right, this weekend, last pair of home games before Christmas break starts. Liberty taking on Pitt, and this is a rematch of the 2023 opening round at the national tournament for LU. LU won that one 7-2. Liberty playing some good hockey right now. They have improved their record to 10-6-1, but they've won 5 straight coming into this contest.
Yeah, and I think that's impressive. And you think about some of those games they've won, like obviously at the time when you've won all your games too, you've been against ranked opponents. I think the most impressive win is obviously the sweep of Ohio here at home. Only, I believe, 2nd or 3rd time you've swept them in recent years, right? So like that's pretty big. But I think too, Pitt's playing great hockey too, right? They're coming in winning 6 straight, and obviously competition probably not as fierce, and same thing with the scoring aggregate in some of those games, but like they have some guys, especially their top line, that know how to put pucks in the back of the net. And also for them, they're probably coming in like, all right, we remember what happened at Nationals, don't want that to happen again, let's get a little payback. So this is a very good series, I think, for both teams.
I think too, with a lot of what will be shuffling around in the top 10, Pitt coming in, it'll be, man, this is a great opportunity to move further up in the rankings.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
There's blood in the water, and let's kind of get after it. So I'm expecting them to come in with a lot of, fire in the belly and momentum just based off of what's kind of happening around the league.
I think the same goes for Liberty, though. When you look at this is your opportunity to potentially pierce back into the top 5, right? Like if you get a couple of dominating wins over Pitt and you can look solid in those, you can kind of claw your way back up to that area which you want to be in. Now Pitt, going back to them really quick, coming off 4-1 and 5-3 victories over Stony Brook. Stony Brook is that is not the same old Seawolves that we remember in years past. They're a young team, and they'll be back there, but this has been a down year for them. But then you look at the other two, 3-0. West Virginia's played some interesting games this year.
Yeah, they've played some good hockey, against some good teams.
Mm-hmm. They've come close. What was it against Ohio we were looking at earlier? They barely lost to them.
Yeah, I think it was a 4-3 and a 5-1.
Right, yeah,
difference.
But that 4-3, I remember looking, I was like, what? Like, my initial response is, what is going on in Ohio? Oh, what happened? But Pitt came in and beat West Virginia 3-0, 7-1. The Violets of New York University 7-2 and 12-2. So, be an interesting weekend series, a lot on the line for both teams. Pat, you made the comment, that top line of Pitt's really dangerous. What do you see in them that enables them to be so dominant?
I think, obviously, chemistry, right? This was a Pitt team that returned a lot of bodies, too. I feel like we said that a lot about teams this cupping year, and so that's just a group that's just returning, and but that's where the points stack, that I've noticed. I believe all 3 of them are the only ones on the team with 20+ points, and I think they're in the mid 20+ column right now too, and one with 30+. So they just know how to get it done, and have just been phenomenal consistently throughout this season. So and leading the way for them. That's why they're not only 13th in the country, but have 13+ wins on the year.
When we look at Liberty coming in this week, and I'd love to see them set the tone right off the bat again. Yep. And really, you go back to that first Ohio game, Bartell, big hit on Reeve, sat him down. It was kind of like the captain was saying, it's going to be a long weekend for you at the LIC. And I'd love to see that same kind of idea come from LU right off the bat. Let Pitt know this isn't going to be a walk in the park here at the LIC. It's going to be a hard 120 minutes of hockey.
I fully agree, and I was kind of thinking and writing down here, I'm expecting a lot from the Schwenke, Gammer, Albers line.
Okay.
When we go back to nationals, it was the Albers line that really sparked the momentum coming in with some physical play, some disruption, and then just the puck kept finding the back of the net.
Yeah.
And those guys were on there. I think we're coming in with a ton of momentum, and if we keep things relatively the same, I think that line, laying the body, laying just that hard-nosed grinding effort down there will slowly chip away at what Pitt might bring to us.
Yeah, and I think honestly you look at line synchronization now, because we all know about the top line, Olsen, Calendite, Versalano, only line that's been together the whole year. So and you just talked about how Kerr calls them the plumbers, right? Schwenke, Gammer, and Albers laying the body, doing things right, and that line's starting to contribute too. Foltz, Odenbright, Bartel, they're starting to get matches. A different person is getting going each weekend to help add to the depth of scoring. And then I really like the other line too that you've been putting together with Sam Feemster centering Finch and Smith. That's a good line. That's a line too I think will provide a lot of additional depth of scoring too, especially when you've got Rhett talked about Sam Feemster, how he's kind of progressed this year. Always a good hard worker, top talent in Finch, and then Rhett compared Smith to Feemster last year, right? Good comparison too. That's another line too that I think could get going. So now you've got 4 good lines with community scoring, and how you guys talk about Kirk likes to run 4. Yeah. These are 4 lines that he can run.
Yeah, it really brings me back to August when I was thinking oh my gosh, we just have line after line of talent after talent, this guy with this guy, this pairing with that. It's exciting. This is what I was expecting at the start of the year. It took us a little bit to kind of get it going with guys figuring some things out. And when you have 1 or 2 that maybe had a slower start than normal, it's going to halt the brakes a little bit. But now I feel like we're really running on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, you know how I kind of get an inkling about a player? I really like Mason Smith. I do.
Yeah.
The more I watch him play, the more I think he's going to be a guy next year, like a stud, a summer spent with you, perhaps, Kerr.
Hopefully.
See. And then he'll come out. He's got offensive touch. You've seen the hands come out a little bit more in some previous games. I think he has the potential to be a 20-goal scorer. I really do. I know that's a big number and play, but I definitely think he could do it. Good frame, good skating ability. And again, I think he has more of a nose to the back of the net than we've seen so far this year. And it could even come out next semester. Sometimes that break and you go and you're just you kind of get away from the game. Maybe you watch a little film and you see things from a different light, and boom, all of a sudden it's clicking for you when you come back. So
I do think the key is keeping him with Smith and Finch. Look at obviously Calendike, Olsen, and
Feemster.
Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. Because I think those 2 will help propel his gameplay, but vice versa too, right? Especially we talked about with Feemster. We've said how hard you always talk about how hard he works, and we've seen that too, right? He can create plays for guys that are good. Smith likes to go to the front of the net. You look at where he scored this season.
No, very true. Yeah,
very in front of the net, and then you got a guy like Finch, highly skilled. So you keep them; they could be a good line for the future, especially with 2 freshmen and a sophomore centerman.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And 2, Finch is such a shooter. And I think if they create the chemistry and communication, hey, Finch, if you're not seeing top cheddar, if that's not readily available to you, fire that thing on the ice, pads, and Feemster and Smith, those guys, like we said, workhorses, Smith with that good-sized body, get in there and just tap home some rebound goals. You mentioned, Smith scored a couple, it's boop, right there, handed to him. He just slams it home off the rebound. That line could be really pivotal, especially in tournament action.
Yeah.
You need a line to provide you some scoring goals like that can give you some minutes, and those 3, I think, are more than capable of doing so.
And with all the hard work, even Feemster's really developed some hands and some skill in tight, close around the net. He's had a couple goals like that this year.
Well, I remember Feemster coming in last year. I was looking at his numbers from where he played junior, and I was like, okay, this guy can put the puck in the back of the net. Like, he has some offensive talent, and sometimes it just takes a little longer for that to get going than others. Like Finch comes in, right off the bat, okay, this kid's going to be able to score at this level. I think for him, if there's anything, you're like, okay, is he going to defend well, right? Just because some guys come in from junior hockey, they're so gifted offensively, and they've done so much that they can kind of relax on the defensive side of the game. But, it's taken Feemster some time. He's there. He's doing great. Putting the puck in the back of the net kind of reminds me of Schwenke last year, where it has scoring knack. And then I think Smith will follow here not too long. But, yeah, the big line, and we touched on it, is the Bartel, Fultz, and Ottenbreit line. It's been interesting to see. I feel like we've had in the last 2 or 3 weekends at home, like big individual performances from each player. Like Fultz on the Friday night against Ohio had a good night. We had Bartel on the Friday night the weekend before that, had a good night. I believe that was versus Stony Brook, where he broke out. Ottenbreit is... I always like Ottenbreit's style of play. Like, I think he's just great with a stick, and he creates a lot for his line mates. But again, I think he can put the puck in the back of the net more too than we've seen from him so far this season. That's a line that you continue to be patient. They're trending in the right direction. They've done some great things individually, but I think before you know it, they're going to click as a 3-man unit and really take off.
Yeah, and I mean, tons of speed on that line too. Yeah. If you get Fultz and Ottenbreit with a head of steam. Yeah. So, yeah,
and if Bartel just keeps, taking souls, I think that adds just another great element to that line. All right, again, men coming up this weekend. Friday night is the midnight game for all of you out there. Remember that. It's a packed day of sports on the mountain. Friday night football here.
Oh, wow. Conference USA
Conference championship game.
Wow.
Let's go. That's right. Yeah. I think Flames will be wrapping up probably around 10:30, 11-ish. So as soon as you're done, just kind of make your way over to the LIC and take your seat for some hockey.
If you were cold during the football game, come warm up at the ice.
Yeah, right, pretty much.
Or if you have young children like the rest of us, watch at home, you can watch this guy, Rhett McGibbon.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
You doing
Pre-game and post-game.
Okay. No intermission?
No, because this is on CBS. They don't like us.
All right, well then,
they do.
Just tune in for the pre and post game. That's all you need, and then game cast it.
It'll be good. That'd be fun. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to do the midnight game this week with my football responsibilities. But Connor and Pat you're in good hands with those two. It'll be a fun night.
For sure.
All right, and then Saturday night, I will be back there with Dub, and we'll get things going. 7 p.m. on Saturday night for the Flames versus Pitt, second game of the weekend series. All right, number 1 women taking on number 2 Midland. That coming up here not too long from now.
That's going to be an exciting game. Like, I think, I'm going to even say it right now. Like, Liberty hockey, women's hockey, like, is trending better than I thought they were going to be at this point in the year.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say that. Like, I was very nervous because of the lack of bodies. And coaching staff, obviously, you've gotten some girls back, and you even have a couple still out that are hurt. So, like, I think that's pretty exciting. And then you made some adjustments, moved a defenseman up, and Priscilla Ziefel, and she's looked phenomenal as a forward, right?
Nice.
Like it almost makes you think, like, man, it would have been interesting. Yeah, like to see the last couple of years, like she's been great, and just plays simple game, always goes to the front of the net, trying to use her frame to create screens or knock home rebounds. And then also she's making it tough for defenders, right, in front and winning the battle net. But a lot of girls after that Maryville series have started getting going. Like we touched on it. Haley Battles, I think that was the most dangerous I've seen her all season. Right. And if she can start going like that, ACHA needs to look out.
Kerr's pumped up about Haley. He was showing me videos before the podcast today on some highlights.
We were sharing before we started recording of just comparing her to other, I'm going to call it, extremely talented players from the past, right? And just bringing back those moments, whether it's, undressing 3 defensemen, collapsing around them, or, I'm going this way, hard stop, puts it over the goalie's shoulder for a goal, just crazy. But with all that, too, you have to give a ton of credit to line mates, to the defense, to goalies. A lot of those goals are coming in transition where we're shutting down the other team's offense, and that's allowing her to gain her speed and just execute on all of her skill. But, against that Maryville team, if she wanted to put out a highlight tape, just
Yeah.
That both of those games entirely just incredible.
I like the one you showed me, the old Tony Amante stop, I call it. He was great at coming off the boards, and he would cut to the net, but then throw on the brakes, and the goalie would come off his post, and then a lot of times he would just tuck it in slowly on the near side, which is kind of cheeky, right? But Haley, on the one you showed me, just throwing on the brakes and then putting it in blocker side, it was a nice goal.
And it's a great move on with our team, because we have so many fast girls like a Britton Fussy that could just come along the boards and just cut right in front of the net, go near side, far side. So you have a couple attempts like that, and then all of a sudden you have someone put the brakes on. The goalie is in a lot of trouble there.
Haley and her Flames now going to turn their attention, as we said, to Midland, coming in 17-0-1. They just swept Minnesota 5-2, 3-2. Minnesota number 15 in the nation. Guys, give me kind of the scouting report on Midland. Are they deep? What do they do well?
I mean, for one, obviously, goaltending's great, right? Like, Stone's been there for years. Last year's National Player of the Year. I think this is probably one of the best goaltending matchups of the season. Like, for them, they've got Stone. Liberty, you got either one. You got Amanda Story, probably one of the most underrated goalies in ACHA history, and everyone's thinking just because she's got a good team, but she's got the highest win percentage in Liberty hockey history.
Wow.
At any level. And then you got Keith. I don't know if a goaltender has had more shutouts to start their career than she has, right? Currently.
Especially in the fall semester.
Yeah, right? Like this year she has, I believe, 3 or 4, and then last year she had a good chunk too. So you're kind of like,
she did have a lot of shutouts.
Yeah, so you're just like, wow. Like, so those are two ladies that have found a way to get it done. So like I said, probably best goaltending matchup that we've seen all season. Yeah, and then like both teams, these are two teams that know each other very well, right? Like obviously Liberty's smaller bench than they have had in years past, but like Kerr says, speed kills, and like that has been their MO over the years. So that'll be a factor. On the other side, Midland, they've got a lot of girls that know how to put in the back of the net. Flanagan, who's probably their top player over the last few seasons. She's been one of the top scorers in the country every year. She's been at Midland. So, like, this is a big matchup, I think, for both teams. And, like, I think it's kind of, you could say maybe it's the preview of the conference championship and the national championship.
Yeah, it could very well be. Liberty not only playing Midland, they're kind of doing the gauntlet thing again. 3 games, 3 days, taking on Jamestown as well.
I'm excited for that matchup. I can't remember if it was a conference championship or national championship, but it was Jamestown's first year up at D1 and sharing a hotel with them, or at least just some parents. And just like such an awesome group of parents really makes you like that team, you know what I mean? When you're passing them in the lobby, and they were just, hey, this, and then next year we'll have this. So I don't believe we've played them in the past. So I'm excited to kind of get that going and just having another team, hopefully that's going to be cracking into the top 10 consistently, just kind of growing the league. But been up to the Jimmy's Barn with the men. I know it's a hockey town, so I'm excited. Oh,
Good point. Yeah, I'm impressed with, we've talked about Maryville, how they've come a long way in such a short amount of time with their program and their rink. Jamestown, you got to give them credit too. Like, first year with the men, they were national bound, but because of the rules, like being a first-year program, you can't go to nationals, and they should have been allowed. But then the women, too, and it's such a short time to have, like, a pretty respectable program, too. Like, you've got to credit what they've been able to do up in Jamestown.
And I'll say this as well. If Jamestown heads to La Coretta, Jamestown, North Dakota, and has dinner there before playing us, I'll be a little nervous.
I mean, sounds like
just for the listeners out there, La Coretta is a very popular restaurant chain here in Lynchburg. And when we headed up to Jamestown with the men, right across the street from our hotel, they also had a La Coretta Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was unreal. So we might be battling fire and fire there.
literally.
Yeah.
All right, here, before we get to Kerr's Corner, it was Thanksgiving. We're coming off that. Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Wonderful Thanksgiving, yes.
Do you have any Thanksgiving pet peeves?
Oh,
Pet peeve.
Yeah, here, I'll
you go
start
first.
it off
You go
here,
first. Yeah,
just because so you give you some time to think. But so the last couple years we've been going over to a family's house that we've become friends with, and the whole idea is that they're an older couple now, but they had 7 kids.
did they listen to the show? Are you about to
No, they won't. No. It's okay. We're good. So, but they also have this other friend of theirs that comes over, and this person believes they make great stuffing. Now, I don't eat stuffing a lot. Do you like stuffing is kind of like that Thanksgiving Day.
The only time you're ever going to eat it.
Right. Because I don't do like turkey and whatnot for Christmas Day. Do you guys do turkey and stuffing for Christmas Day?
Usually it's some sort of roast.
Okay, so we
household.
do ribs. Like, that's our Christmas Day thing, tradition. So anyways, this person always makes the stuffing, but it's not like here's the simple truth. There are people at Stover's that have mastered stuffing.
Yeah.
And even great value for what it's worth. 88 cents a box. You can put some hot water in it. You're golden.
Yeah.
You don't need to mess with it. All right. Just get the boxes.
So funny.
It only costs you literally like $2.50 to make this meal. I don't know what on earth they think they're doing, but she's like cornmeal and all this stuff, and it is just horrible. Like, so bad. So I was like, I think, honey, we're bringing some sides. We're just gonna add some stuffing into that. So sure enough, like we did the kind of the impolite thing. Totally on my call was like, bring your own stuffing. Yeah. Because I told her, I'm like, I only get to eat this like literally once a year, maybe twice.
So true.
I want it to be good and I want it to be tasty. So we brought our own stuffing, set it out. I could tell the person was kind of like, what's that?
Whoa.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah. That was my dish. But yeah, so the McGibbon family totally just ate out of this one dish. Other people ate the other stuff. But yeah, anyways, that's my pet peeve. I'm like, why try to mess with something that's already made? Like, don't try to perfect something that's already been perfected. You don't need to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad about it. It's like
Making
sometimes
your own
I'm kind of
breadcrumbs. Like, what are you doing?
I know, like, yeah, exactly. And then sometimes when people do that, it gets soggy.
Yep.
Like nobody wants soggy stuffing.
No.
Like, come on. Right? Are you with me, Dub?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm not a big stuffing guy myself,
Okay.
but I do agree. Like, Stouffer's has the game locked.
Yeah, they've
right?
got it.
Yeah.
Exactly. They've got it nailed down. You don't need to screw with the magic. Just take it in. It's cheap.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have a big pet peeve because, like, I'll be honest, I'm kind of like even Thanksgiving or Christmas, I don't need to eat a certain thing on that meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, so I remember I've told people this story multiple times. One of the best Christmas meals I've ever had was actually at your house, Rhett. Because like it was, you guys did ribs.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But then you did like a bunch of other random things. Like there was fried chicken there.
That's right.
Yeah. You made pizza because I was coming over.
That's true.
And I was just like, this might be the greatest meal I've ever had. Like, no traditional food, but I loved it. So yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. For me, as let's just word it as, a lot of people will view that when I eat, it's going to be this perfect, proper health meal.
Yes.
Right. So I get frustrated when people don't. I'm going to just word it as like indulge in a holiday.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, this is this one time a year. It's this one meal, and why are we doing it? To just be thankful for the abundance that we get provided.
Yeah.
So if you haven't, it's there. One day is not going to kill you of eating some ice cream, eating some pumpkin pie,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
And it's, go a little crazy on that day and, have your discipline the rest of the time.
Do you have people that come up to you like, oh, you probably don't want this because you eat healthy?
Yeah. Oh, all the time with everything. Or they'll, at the rink, people will come around to like pass out some treats every now and then.
Yeah.
They'll get to me and be like, you probably don't want this, right? Like, you know it, right? Like, I don't want to have that stuff all the time. But having some stuffing on Thanksgiving isn't going to kill you.
Exactly.
Like, just enjoy it.
Right.
And don't be the burden to the family. Like, oh, we gotta make this special meal for this guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on.
I hear
Get
it.
out of here.
All right, we go from Thanksgiving to our health tip.
All right, so fellas, today we're going to be kind of wrapping up-ish the feet. Yeah, we've been talking about feet for a while, and just in time for the holidays. Now, I'll be heading north this Christmas, so it might be a little tough for me to get this one going, but grounding. Kind of you brought it up first a few weeks ago, Pat, of grounding with the feet, and we got into the weeds a little bit, but grounding, and in other words, putting your bare feet on the ground, the grass, the dirt, the earth, whatever you kind of want to call it. So some background on that first. Our body is essentially one big power plant. Right, so think of the movie The Matrix when Morpheus presents Neo with the idea that the machines have turned humans into batteries, and that is accurate-ish. We produce a lot of electricity. So now think back to middle school science class. You have atoms, and atoms make up everything, and atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? Currents, signals, charges, positive, negative, etc., all that. So bottom line, our body is electric and it has charges. So the Earth is the same way, right? There's a charge to it. So by contacting the surface of the Earth with our feet, or just any body part for that matter, you can roll around the grass with your shirt off if the spirit comes upon you there. We are able to discharge and recharge whatever the body may need, right? So it's kind of like grabbing a warm cup of water when you're cold. Right, the energy is being transferred from our body into the cup, from the cup into our body. It's kind of the same idea with grounding. So why do this, right? Why ground? Why put bare feet on the earth? Well, throughout our life, our body could build up. Let's just make it simple, like a 2 positive or a 2 negative kind of charge. And contacting the surface of the earth will bring us back into harmony, right? So it kind of helps balance us out. It's the same type of thing when you're inside cold and you go outside to warm up on a summer, right? So in short, we want to recharge our cells to the correct frequencies, and getting our bare feet on the grass is a great way to do it. Grounding, fellas.
Do you... Yeah. So, I know you're in the ground. Do you do it right now, like when it's cold out?
Yes. So
really?
Every morning-ish, I will, when the sun comes up, again, I want to get that blue light.
Okay.
I bundle up and I just go out there in my bare feet. And it's not fun, but it is what it is. I know the positive benefits to it. So I'll go out there bare feet and throw the Frisbee with my dog for a little bit, get that morning sun hitting me, and I'll head back inside.
Wow. Man.
It's dedication, Pat.
What about the frost when it's get frosty?
I will. Yeah, I'll wait for the sun to start to melt that away a little bit. Yeah, right. But like I said, heading up north to New Jersey this Christmas season, so we'll see if there's grass available or if there's snow. Gotcha. Might have to go and rub my hands on a tree or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right, great stuff, Kerr, as always. Moving on to men's Division II, got a big battle coming up with Florida Gulf Coast. Liberty number 4 currently in the Southeast, 10-4-1, going on down to Florida to take on number 3, FGCU, who are 11-2 on the year. They have played each other once already this season, Liberty dropping that by a score of 6-5. But this is the first time the Flames have headed on down to Fort Myers since February 2022.
Yeah, and also I think the first time since neither one has been in the top 2 since...
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, right.
Yeah.
You probably know better, but I can't remember the last time one of these two teams were not in
number
the top
1
2.
in the Southeast right now?
Number 1 in the Southeast is Indiana.
Oh,
and then number 2.
When I think of the Southeast, I think of Indiana.
Yeah, or Miami.
Yeah. Number 2 is Kentucky.
Oh, another good Southeastern state.
Right, yeah. So it's
haven't done the conference realignments yet. Yeah.
It's interesting. I think this is a big weekend for both teams, right? Because obviously, Liberty, you want to have success down there, or not only come away with the win, at least 1, but maybe 2, and then make sure the games are close too. So big weekend for both these groups, especially since Florida Golf has started to trend in the right direction, and you can take one from them at home because, they don't leave home anymore for the rest of the year. It's a big matchup, and I think more impressive, too. They just came off some big wins versus Lindenwood, right? They lose 4-3 in overtime, but then you dog them 9-5.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happened in that game, but I'm 9-5. What?
Hasn't been one of those crazy penalty trouble games, right? Lindenwood is big and physical.
Right.
Perhaps, right? I'm speculating, but yeah.
I mean, it's good speculation, but that's interesting. But big matchup for men's D2.
Yeah.
This is a great matchup. I'm very excited of. After the showcase here at Liberty, it was a make or break type of moment of okay, let's kind of figure out who we're going to be as a team here. And I firmly believe when you have Coach Hughes and Coach Garland at the helm, they're going to always make the right adjustments, say the right things, implement the right practice plans and strategies for the team to go out and execute. And I think we saw that against Lindenwood. I
Yeah.
think they kind of closed up the wickets a bit there and shut down some scoring. They got some scoring going on their own. So after that Lindenwood series really got me fired up for this Florida Gulf one because two heavyweight titans going to battle here in the Southeast.
Yeah, always a great contest between these two
Right.
teams. This is a Liberty D2 team in a lot of ways, a similar stretch to that of men's Division I. A bit of a slow start, slower than what we would have expected, but in the last, I would say, several weeks have started to find their way in the right direction.
Yeah, and they've won some big games too, right? Obviously, you've taken out, at the time, they were number one during the initial rankings, Northeastern in the Northeast, and then also I know UMass was 6. Now they've moved into the top 5 of the Northeast too, so that's big wins. You split with the number 1 in the Central and Lindenwood. So, like, this is just another opportunity for them to have a good series versus a top team in the Southeast. And, yeah, just try to move forward and head into the midway break on a high note.
And this men's D2 team is loaded
Yes.
talent at the forward.
they really are.
I mean, they have guys who could score. They have guys who are fast. So when you don't have those guys all having a good night on the same night, it could kind of look like, oh, what's going on with this team? But that's not going to be always and forever, right? Well, they're going to step up in certain moments, and so hope they put it together against Florida.
Yeah.
And Scon feels like he's really kind of stepped into that number 1 role here as of late, too, and taken the reins on it. All right, continuing on. Women's Division II, they sweep Maryville. We're gonna break the egg here. A little Malice in the Palace.
That's right.
A little right hook action. I like it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It was kind of wild watching.
Yeah.
Like, and I haven't seen Rena since it happened because break happened shortly after. But, like, I would like to have just got her thoughts, like, on how it just all escalated, and you're just kind of like, whoa, what is, right? Like,
I love listening to the announcer. He's like, oh my goodness. She threw a punch. I was like, yes, sir.
that's right. So, but yeah, and also interesting. That matchup was just interesting. Like, you dog them 10-0 the
So,
night
like you
before.
said, hot and cold.
Then-
It is so
Right.
bizarre in
What
this
is going
team.
on?
Yeah.
And 1-0, and like they score. It took them to the third period to score.
Really?
Like, yeah, and it was less than 10 minutes when they got on the board.
Right.
Because like
Was it the same goalie for
yeah,
Mary?
it was Ray.
What is going on?
Sometimes the second night's a better night for you.
Yeah.
You're just kind of feeling in the groove.
Yeah, and like they did test. I believe it was Hodson in net for us. Like she didn't get tested a ton, but she got tested a lot more than Mebs did, right? Like they didn't even get 10 shots on Mebs, and they got 18 on her. But Liberty put up 50 plus on Gray for Maryville.
Okay.
And for some reason, night 2, she was
just
Right
dialed in.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just hitting her. Oh, that's crazy.
Well, Women's Division II end the fall 9-4-1, and we'll look now forward to the spring semester. But overall, this team feel like they're sitting in a really good spot heading towards that day that's come here lately for them where they're not making nationals. It feels like they're in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, it does. Like, been waiting too for the initial ranking. I
Yeah.
haven't seen women's D2 ranking.
Merry
yet. So,
Christmas.
like, I know. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah, because like it's you got to have one before the mid break.
Oh,
like
you
you would
think.
think.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I mean, I would assume there's just coming out either the week we're doing the show or next week or something. So, but yeah, like they are trending in the right direction. They're heading, I think, into the mid-year, like in a good spot, and hopefully they'll come back in the spring ready to roll and keep going. And hopefully a little less hot and cold.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I look at this team they have a ton of people that could break the game open.
Yes,
right?
they do.
And especially too, as no matter who you're playing, when you come away from a weekend allowing 0 goals, right? That's a good thing. So they just got to keep that momentum rolling into next semester.
Our men's Division III also coming up in action here, playing Penn State Harrisburg again. Last time they played, lost 5-3 and 5-2, but game 1, they did have a pretty good comeback in it.
Absolutely, yeah. So a 5-3 in game 1, 4-3 with an empty net. Right. As we're trying to make the push there, pulling the goalie at the end. But when I think of that game 1, there was a ton of momentum getting generated as they're mounting that comeback. So it's there. The team has it. They just got to put it together for 60 minutes, which obviously is difficult.
Tough task to do for any team in the ACHA. Pat, really quick, it feels like the D3 men's season in some ways has not really even gotten rolling. Like,
No.
I know that's weird, but it's like
Yeah.
it's been like play 2, stop for 2 or 3 weeks, and then play again. Like, they haven't really played that many games.
Yeah, and I think that's tough. Like, right?
is.
Like, obviously, you have a new coach, and I think a lot of new bodies, but and also too like new league. Too. Well, same league, new name,
Right.
With AAU, but like, I feel like for them, yeah, that's been the issue, right? Like, you can get in a rhythm because you don't have back-to-back games going and back-to-back opponents. Let alone you only play 1-2 games here at home, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
so,
crazy.
like that's huge too. So like, yeah, I think for them it's just been tough for them to get in rhythm because they don't have the game reps, and we all know how that big that is. And because then you see in the second game or both games in Penn State, you had some defensive miscues that led to breakaway chances, and Penn State took advantage. So I think for them, like, hopefully next semester, if they can start getting in the rhythm of games, they'll put a lot of more wins in together because this is a very talented men's D3 team.
And you get sick of playing yourself in practice
Yes.
all the time. Like, you were just chomping at the bit. And in all honesty, you're probably too hyped going into a game just because they're so far and few in between.
Yeah. Well, second semester, I know they're slated for a lot more games, a lot more frequently.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
end it well, and then they'll be able to kind of put it together in the spring.
Before we go, Pat, our schedule from here on out, I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've got that.
One more.
One more? Okay. Next week, we do Rock the Rink, and then we're off for Christmas. We'll come back before Men's Division 1 plays in the teens of January.
Yeah, when they'll be coming off their Finland trip, and also they'll be playing Syracuse 4.
Gotcha.
Midnight Mayhem.
All right. Midnight Mayhem again in Midnight Mayhem this Friday again. 12 o'clock versus Pitt. Saturday night at 7. Men's football before that. Men's football. If there's women's football, let me know. No, football before that. Conference USA Championship game taking on New Mexico State. Lots going on the mountain this weekend. We'll see you back here next week for our Christmas edition of The Rink.
That's right.